At 92 years old, Kim Novak finally spoke about a man who played a special role in her life, both on screen and in her heart: James Stewart. For many years, people around the world admired their work together in the film Vertigo, but few knew what their connection truly meant to her. To the public, they were two famous actors. To Kim Novak, however, James Stewart represented something rare in Hollywood: kindness, respect, and humanity in a world that often treated people like objects. Before she became a legend, before the bright lights and red carpets, Kim Novak was simply a young girl named Marilyn Pauline Novak, born on February 13, 1933, in Chicago, Illinois. She grew up in a working-class family during the Great Depression, a time when money was scarce and life was hard for many Americans. Her parents were Czech immigrants who believed in discipline, honesty, and hard work. There was nothing glamorous about her childhood. No connections to movie studios, no signs that she would one day be one of the most famous faces in the world. As a child, she was shy, thoughtful, and deeply creative. She loved drawing, painting, and creating art. While other children dreamed of movie stardom, she dreamed of becoming an artist, someone who could express emotion through color, shape, and feeling. She later attended Wright Junior College, now known as Wilbur Wright College, where she studied commercial art. Her goal was not fame. She wanted a quiet life, a life built on creativity, peace, and personal freedom. This love for art never left her. Even when she became famous, she always thought like an artist, paying attention to mood, expression, and emotional detail. These qualities later became the heart of her acting style, making her different from other actresses of her time. Her entry into Hollywood was almost an accident. While modeling to support her education, she was noticed by talent scouts and signed by Columbia Pictures in the early 1950s. From the very beginning, the studio tried to change her. They wanted to rename her Kit Marlowe and turn her into a typical blonde movie star. But Kim Novak refused. She fought to keep her real name and her true identity. This decision, simple as it may sound, was bold in an era when studios controlled every part of an actor's life. They decided how stars dressed, spoke, dated, and even what they believed. By insisting on being herself, Novak set the tone for her entire career. While the studio tried to make her another version of Marilyn Monroe, she carved out her own path. She did not rely on loud charm or dramatic performances. Instead, she brought quiet emotion, vulnerability, and inner strength to the screen. Her acting was soft but powerful, emotional but controlled. Audiences quickly noticed that she was not just beautiful. She was different. She felt real. Her breakthrough came with films like Picnic in 1955, where she showed not only sensual beauty, but emotional depth. Viewers saw a woman filled with longing, uncertainty, and hope. She went on to star in The Man with the Golden Arm, Pal Joey, and Belle, Book and Candle. In each role, she played women who were not simple love interests. They were thoughtful, conflicted, and searching for meaning beyond romance. She became one of Hollywood's biggest stars during the 1950s, yet she never felt comfortable in the system that made her famous. Behind the scenes, she struggled with the strict rules of the studio system. She disliked being told what to wear, how to act in public, and who she was allowed to love. She wanted to be seen as a human being, not a product. These conflicts with studio executives made her career difficult at times. but she refused to give up her independence. This inner struggle between fame and freedom shaped much of her life and would later influence how she looked back on her career. Even as her name appeared in headlines and her face filled movie screens, she remained a woman searching for truth, meaning, and emotional honesty. This search would reach its most powerful moment in the film that would define her forever, Vertigo. In 1958, Kim Novak starred in Alfred Hitchcock's Vertigo, a film that would later be called one of the greatest movies ever made. In this film, she played two women, Madeline Elster and Judy Barton, characters trapped in a story of obsession, control, illusion, and identity. Her performance was unlike anything audiences had seen before. She did not rely on loud emotion or dramatic speeches. Instead, she used silence, body language, and subtle expression to communicate fear, longing, and heartbreak. At the time of its release, Vertigo received mixed reviews. Some critics did not understand its slow pace or emotional complexity. But over the years, the film was re-examined and is now widely praised as a masterpiece. Today, Kim Novak's performance is considered one of the most haunting in film history. Yet behind the beauty of the movie was a deeply emotional and difficult experience for her. Hitchcock was known for his controlling style, and Novak often felt pressured to become someone she was not. The famous transformation scene in Vertigo, where her character is reshaped into another woman, mirrored what Novak herself had experienced in Hollywood, being told how to look, who to be, and how to exist for the sake of others. Standing beside her in this film was James Stewart, one of the most respected actors of his generation. On screen, he played a man obsessed with her character, but off-screen, he treated her very differently. For many years, Novak spoke little about Stewart, keeping her memories private. But in her later years, especially at the age of 92, she finally opened up about what he meant to her. She described him not as a legend or a star, but as a kind and gentle man. In an industry often filled with ego, power struggles, and emotional distance, Stewart was calm, respectful, and supportive. He did not try to control her. He did not talk down to her. He treated her as an equal, as a fellow artist. Novak later said that working with Stewart made her feel safe, something she rarely felt in Hollywood. While directors, producers, and studio executives often tried to shape her image and silence her voice, Stewart never did. He listened to her. He respected her ideas. He valued her as a person, not just as a beautiful face on screen. This simple human respect left a deep impression on her. At 92, when she finally spoke about him, her words were not dramatic or filled with scandal. They were quiet, honest, and full of gratitude. She remembered him as one of the few people in Hollywood who treated her with true kindness. This reflection was powerful because it revealed something rare. In a world that often took from her, Stewart gave her respect. Despite the artistic success of Vertigo, Novak's relationship with Hollywood continued to grow more strained. She became increasingly unhappy with the way studios controlled actors' lives. She refused to follow orders blindly and was often labeled difficult for wanting creative freedom. Her personal life also became a source of pain. In the 1950s, she fell in love with entertainer Sammy Davis Jr. Their relationship was genuine, but Hollywood at the time was deeply racist. According to later reports, studio executives feared public backlash and allegedly used threats and intimidation to force the relationship to end. Davis was reportedly warned that his career and even his safety were at risk if he did not comply. The relationship was broken not by lack of love, but by fear, power, and cruelty. This experience deeply hurt Novak and opened her eyes to the darker side of fame. It showed her that the industry she worked in was not built on fairness or humanity, but on control and image. Though she continued acting for several years, something inside her had changed. She no longer believed that success in Hollywood was worth the personal cost. By the late 1960s, after films like The Legend of Lila Clare, she began to step away from the spotlight. She chose a quieter life, one focused on art, nature, and self-expression. While many stars fought to stay relevant, Novak chose peace over attention. In the 1980s, she returned briefly to television, in projects like Malibu, and later in the series Falcon Crest, where she once again showed her quiet strength and emotional depth. Yet even then, she refused to remain in the public eye simply for fame. When offered the chance to extend her role, she declined, choosing instead to focus on writing her own story and reclaiming her narrative. Her final film roles in The Children, 1990, and Liebestraum, 1991, felt like gentle goodbyes. Even when productions were difficult, she performed with grace and honesty. Through it all, the memory of James Stewart remained different from most of her Hollywood experiences. He was not associated with pain, control, or betrayal. He represented something rare, a moment of respect in a life often shaped by struggle. When Novak finally spoke about him at 92, she was not looking for attention. She was simply telling the truth of what he had meant to her. Now in her 90s, Kim Novak looks back on her life with clarity rather than bitterness. When she finally spoke about James Stewart, her words were simple and deeply human. She did not talk about awards or fame. She spoke about respect, kindness, and what it meant to be treated as a person in an industry that often treated her as property. In a life filled with beauty, talent, success, heartbreak, and loss, Stewart stood out as someone who never tried to change her or control her. Her reflection was quiet, but it carried great meaning. It reminded the world that behind every famous film are real people with real emotions. Novak's life was not a fairy tale. It was a journey marked by independence, struggle, and the constant fight to remain true to herself. She walked away from Hollywood, not because she failed, but because she refused to lose her identity. She chose a life of art, solitude, and personal peace over endless fame. Her love for painting, nature, and animals became central to her later years. She found happiness not in applause, but in creativity and freedom. When she spoke at 92 about James Stewart, she was not trying to rewrite history. She was simply honoring one of the few experiences in Hollywood that had not wounded her. In doing so, she revealed something important about her entire life. She valued human connection more than success. She valued being seen and respected more than being admired. Kim Novak's story is not just the story of a movie star. It is the story of a woman who fought for her soul in a world determined to define her. And in the end, when she finally spoke about James Stewart, she gave us not gossip, not drama, but something far more powerful: truth, gratitude, and quiet strength.